Ladies and gentlemen, what separates the extraordinary from the average? Is it talent? Is it money? Is it luck? No, it's mindset. The difference is how people think, how they begin, and how they carry themselves long before the world takes notice. The world doesn't hand greatness to anyone. It doesn't care where you come from. It doesn't ask how much money your parents had. It only watches what you do and how you think while doing it. So think big. Think beyond the street you live on, beyond the city you're in, beyond your current job, beyond your current bank account. Those who live small never dare to imagine a different world. But the ones who build legacies, they see it first in their minds. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. The people we admire didn't play it safe in their thoughts. They dared to believe they could build billion-dollar companies in a garage, spark revolutions from a college dorm, or change the world with just one voice. But here's the truth most people miss. Thinking big means nothing if you don't start small. The skyscraper begins with a single brick. Every movement begins with a single action. Every fortune starts with a decision to save a single dollar. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you have all the answers. Don't wait until the bank says yes or the world gives you permission. Start with what you have. Use what's in your hands. Build the habit, build the muscle, build the momentum. Consistency will take you places that intensity never will, and when you act, act like the rich, not the fake rich you see flashing luxury on social media. I'm talking about the quiet rich, the smart rich, the discipline, driven rich. They don't chase trends, they chase value, they don't flaunt, they invest, they don't act impulsively, they act with strategy. They read more than they post, they focus more than they flash, they build silently and win loudly. The only limit that truly exists is the one we place on our own imagination. When we look at those who have created massive impact, built empires, and defied the odds, we often forget the place where their journey began. An idea so bold, it frightened even them. Dreaming without limits is not about fantasy. It's about tapping into a version of ourselves that hasn't yet been restrained by fear, doubt, or the opinions of others. The greatest barrier to success isn't lack of opportunity. It's the smallness of our own vision. People shrink their dreams to fit their current reality, not realizing that reality bends to belief. When you allow yourself to dream big, you're not being unrealistic. You're being brave. It takes boldness to imagine a life far greater than the one you see today, especially when nothing around you validates that possibility yet. When we were children, we believed we could fly, become astronauts, build castles in the sky. No one told us we couldn't, until the world did. Somewhere along the way, society taught us to be realistic, to stop asking too many questions, to stop expecting more. But the people who change the world never let go of that childlike ability to see what doesn't yet exist. They feed that vision, they protect it from cynicism, they nurture it in the quiet spaces where doubt tries to creep in. Thinking big means giving yourself permission to imagine something extraordinary. It means refusing to play small simply because it's safer, more convenient, or more socially accepted. The small thinkers will always try to pull you back into their comfort zones, because your boldness reminds them of their own compromise. Every invention, every breakthrough, every transformation in history began as a thought that someone dared to believe in. And often, that thought was ridiculed, dismissed, or ignored before it was ever praised. The world told them that's impossible, but they said, "Watch me." Thinking big is not arrogance, it's clarity. It's knowing that you were meant for something beyond routine. It's understanding that limitations exist only when we accept them. There is no innovation in staying where it's comfortable. There is no magic in mediocrity. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one lies in how far you're willing to let your mind stretch beyond what is common, expected, and familiar. When you think big, You begin to train your brain to solve problems at a higher level. You start looking at the world differently. You stop asking, "What if it doesn't work?" and begin asking, "What if it does?" You begin to focus less on the cost and more on the value. You stop measuring success by survival and start measuring it by significance. Big thinkers don't just dream for themselves. They dream for their families, their communities, their future generations. They don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They create the conditions by first shifting their mindset, and that shift is where all greatness begins. You don't need a flawless plan, a huge bank balance, or a perfect starting point to begin moving toward your vision. What you need is courage, the courage to take the first small step, even when the path ahead looks uncertain. That step may not look like much to others. It might be reading a book, making a phone call, writing a single paragraph, setting your alarm for 5 a.m., or saving your first 100 rupees. But that small step, repeated over time, becomes the foundation for something massive. The truth is, many people never get started not because they don't have potential, but because they believe their beginning has to be grand. They think that if they don't start big, they shouldn't start at all. But the road to greatness doesn't begin with a leap. It begins with a shuffle, a stagger, a single deliberate move forward when no one's watching and no one's cheering. Success is not built in moments of brilliance. It is built in moments of bravery, and the most underrated form of bravery is simply starting. Starting even when you feel unqualified. Starting even when the voice in your head whispers that you're not ready. Starting even when it feels like everyone else is ahead of you. The truth is, no one really has it all figured out. Everyone starts somewhere, and most great things begin in humble silence, not loud declarations. The most successful people you admire today were once amateurs fumbling their way through unfamiliar territory. They didn't wait until they had the best tools or the ideal timing. They acted with what they had, and they kept moving. They chose progress over perfection, effort over excuses. When you take that first step, no matter how small, you're not just moving forward. You're breaking the inertia that holds most people back. You're sending a signal to your mind and body that you are willing to show up, willing to learn, and willing to become better. Every great athlete, artist, entrepreneur, or leader had a beginning that didn't look impressive. But they stayed consistent. And that consistency, that repetition of small actions, is what separates achievers from dreamers. The small step may not yield results right away, and that's where most people give up. But those who keep showing up, day after day, inch by inch, begin to experience the compounding power of growth. Their confidence grows with each action, and before they know it, those small steps create unstoppable momentum. The first step also does something far more important than building momentum. It builds belief. The moment you act, you change the way you see yourself. You go from being someone who wants to someone who does asterisk. Identity begins to shift, and when your identity changes, your actions follow. It is no longer about motivation. It becomes about integrity. The person who takes that small step today is not the same person who was stuck yesterday. That one move, that simple act of discipline, courage, or decision, has the power to change everything if you let it grow into the habit of action. In a world addicted to instant validation, likes, views, and applause, it's easy to fall into the trap of performing for attention instead of building for purpose. But the truth is, the strongest foundations are always laid in silence. Building before you broadcast is about putting in the real work when nobody is looking. It's about doing the hard, unglamorous, unseen tasks that eventually lead to excellence. The ones who last, the ones who win over the long haul, are the ones who don't get distracted by the spotlight. They get obsessed with the process. They know that the applause is temporary, but the skill, the discipline, and the structure they're building will endure. When you choose to build instead of broadcast, you shift your focus from impressing others to improving yourself. That shift is powerful. Instead of wasting energy trying to look successful, you pour that energy into actually becoming successful. You stop caring about how it appears to the outside world and start investing in making it real for yourself. There's no ego in the early stages. There's just sweat, effort, late nights, early mornings, mistakes, and relentless repetition. That's where greatness is forged. In the shadows, in the quiet moments of consistency that no one claps for. People are often so eager to show what they're doing that they forget to do the work. They chase visibility before they have built credibility. They want to be seen as leaders, experts, or influencers, but they haven't mastered the basics. The truth is, your results will always speak louder than your announcements. When you stay committed to building in private, your work becomes undeniable. Eventually, the quality of what you've created becomes too real to ignore. And when that time comes, you won't have to shout to be heard. Your impact will do the speaking for you. There's something powerful about doing the work when no one is watching. It builds a level of self-trust and self-respect that can't be faked. You begin to know yourself as someone who follows through, someone who doesn't need an audience to be excellent, someone who holds themselves to a high standard even when it's inconvenient. This kind of discipline compounds. Over time, it turns into mastery, and mastery is what sets the extraordinary apart from the average. Broadcasting your plans before they're fully formed can also dilute your energy. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, your brain gets a small hit of satisfaction, as if you've already done it. But the reward should not come from talking. It should come from execution. The builders understand this. They stay quiet, they move in silence, they grow in private, and they allow their success to speak in volumes when the time is right. In a world full of noise, building without broadcasting is a rare superpower. It demands patience, it requires humility, and it builds unshakable confidence. Because when you know what you've built in the dark, you don't need to seek light. You carry it within you. The mindset of the wealthy is not about luxury, but about legacy. It's not rooted in consumption, but in creation. Acting like the rich is not about buying designer clothes or flashy cars, it's about thinking long term, making intelligent decisions, and investing in the future while others are spending to survive the present. The rich think in terms of value, while the average person often thinks in terms of cost. It's not that they have more resources from the beginning. It's that they learn to see every resource differently. Time becomes an asset, money becomes a tool, and every connection becomes an opportunity to grow, not just gain. Acting like the rich begins long before your bank account reflects it. It starts in how you approach each day, each decision, and each challenge. The wealthy don't chase instant gratification. They understand the power of patience and the value of strategy. They delay pleasure to secure progress. While others are asking, how can I get more now? They are asking, how can I make this grow over time? That simple shift in thinking separates those who struggle endlessly from those who build enduring wealth. Acting like the rich means not being swayed by trends or peer pressure. It's staying grounded in your mission even when others are focused on appearances. The rich don't waste time trying to look successful. They use their time to become irreplaceable, valuable, and wise. They're readers, learners, listeners, planners. They make decisions based on data, not drama. They think in probabilities, not emotions. They understand risk, but are not paralyzed by fear. They move with clarity and precision, even when others doubt them. A rich mindset sees money as fuel, not as a finish line. Money is not the goal, it's the byproduct of smart habits, bold thinking, and consistent execution. Those who act like the rich are intentional with every dollar. They track, save, invest, and multiply. They don't spend to feel better. They build to live freer. Freedom is their currency. Ownership is their goal. Control is their leverage. They don't want to just earn more. They want to own more, control more, and impact more. And all of that begins in how they think on day one, not day 100. Acting like the rich also means surrounding yourself with people who challenge you, not just comfort you. They don't fear being the least experienced person in the room. They crave it. They know that proximity to wisdom accelerates growth. They seek mentors, not cheerleaders. They value knowledge more than validation. They understand that who you spend time with can either elevate or extinguish your potential. Acting like the rich is about playing the long game, always. It's about discipline over distraction, purpose over popularity, and vision over vanity. Every decision becomes a step toward a larger picture that most can't see yet. Where others see spending, they see investing. Where others see failure, they see feedback. Where others see obstacles, they see systems to overcome them. It is a mental framework built on intention, resilience, and clarity. Consistency is the hidden force behind every success story. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, and it doesn't demand attention. But it's what transforms ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. Most people are obsessed with intensity, those bursts of energy, those grand moments of motivation, those sudden waves of inspiration that make you feel unstoppable for a day or two. But intensity fades. It burns bright and dies fast. Consistency, on the other hand, is quiet, steady, and relentless. It doesn't shout, but it doesn't stop either. It's the daily choice to show up, to put in the work, to keep going even when the spark is gone and no one is watching. People often wait for the perfect mood, the perfect energy, the perfect circumstances to begin or to continue. But those who achieve greatness don't wait for conditions. They create routines. They don't ask, "Do I feel like it today?" They decide, "This is what I do every day, regardless of how I feel." Because they understand that success is not a result of what you do occasionally. It's what you do consistently . Every small task, when done daily, compounds. Reading 10 pages a day might not seem like much until it becomes 3. 100 pages a month and 6. 100 pages a year. Saving a small amount regularly might seem insignificant until it becomes your safety net, your freedom, your seed for investment. Consistency builds character. It develops discipline. It teaches you to keep promises to yourself. And the moment you start keeping your word to yourself, you stop needing motivation to act. You begin acting out of identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who doesn't quit, someone who finishes what they start, someone who is committed, not just interested. That shift is everything, because once you identify as consistent, you start building habits that last. Habits that don't depend on external praise or visible progress. Habits that hold you up when motivation fails. Most people give up not because they lack ability, but because they lack patience with the process. They want immediate results from minimal effort, but mastery doesn't come from one great effort. It comes from thousands of repetitions. The athlete who becomes world-class trains on the days they're tired. The entrepreneur who builds empires works through setbacks. The artist who gains recognition creates when they're uninspired. The key is never intensity for a few days. It's consistency for a few years. Because every day you show up, you strengthen your foundation. You develop the muscle memory of success. You may not see the reward right away, but that's not the point. The act of showing up is the win. The routine itself becomes a ritual of excellence. Consistency also builds credibility. not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you choose to honor your goals despite inconvenience, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who can be trusted with big dreams. That belief compounds, fueling greater confidence, greater focus, and greater results. When others stop, you keep moving, not because it's easy, but because it's who you've become, and over time, that consistency becomes your competitive edge. So many people are obsessed with the outcome that they forget where the true transformation happens, in the process. The ones who succeed at the highest levels are not the ones who only focus on the end result, but the ones who fall in love with the daily grind, the repetition, the details, the small wins, and even the failures. The process is where you are shaped, molded, tested, and refined. It's where you build the discipline, resilience, and confidence necessary to handle the success you say you want. Chasing the prize without respecting the process is like wanting to harvest a field you never planted. It doesn't work that way. The prize is a reflection of your relationship with the process. If you avoid the process, you forfeit the reward. The process is uncomfortable, slow, and often thankless. It requires you to wake up early, stay up late, work when you're tired, study when you're uninspired, and keep moving when no one is watching. It's not exciting, it's not Instagram worthy, and it doesn't give you instant gratification. But it is where everything great is built. Every elite performer, every world-class athlete, every visionary leader you admire spent years in the process before they ever saw the spotlight. They practiced in silence. They failed in private. They revised, repeated, and relearned more times than anyone could count. And because they stayed with the process long enough, the prize eventually came, but not before. There's something powerful that happens when you stop obsessing over the end and start finding purpose in the middle. When you shift your focus from what will I get out of this to who am I becoming through this, that's when growth accelerates. You start seeing setbacks as teachers, not obstacles. You start viewing repetition as mastery, not boredom. You start to understand that the process isn't a detour, it's the path. And if you can stay with it, even when it's hard, even when it's slow, even when it feels like nothing's changing, you're building something far more valuable than the outcome. You're building yourself. The prize will come and go, money can be lost, awards can fade, fame can vanish, but the person you become through the process, that's permanent, that's the real win, that's the foundation that no one can take from you. When you build your character through discipline, your skills through repetition, and your strength through struggle, you become someone who doesn't just win once. You become someone who can't lose, because you've developed the habits, systems, and mindset that create success repeatedly. That's what the process gives you. Those who avoid the process usually end up quitting. They're addicted to the highlight reel and allergic to the hard work behind the scenes. But those who respect the process, who show up day after day, who embrace the boring, who accept the pain, and who find joy in the work, those are the ones who rise. The process is the proving ground. It's where your excuses die, your confidence is born, and your commitment is tested.